context of that part of Uganda, because there was a civil war there.
At the time when I started coming to Gulu, starting my tailoring workshop and starting to engage, there was really just no economy.
And then having Mtindo set up there, I think it just contributed to like building up basically like a community.
Things taking off, businesses taking off. I'm glad that Mtindo is contributing to that.
But did you envision that when you were first thinking about launching a tailoring training business? You are exactly the epitome of the kind of entrepreneur that we want to support, because we do see how this can have a tremendous long-term sustainable impact. So welcome to Founders of Impact, a new series focused on the journeys of Miller Center's entrepreneurs. This is a spin-off series from our Line of Sight podcast. My name is Karen Runde. I am one of the senior directors here at Miller Center. And today it is my tremendous pleasure to have the one and only Susan Namirimu, CEO and co-founder of Mtindo. So Susan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So it's actually really cool. You and I are physically in Nairobi, Kenya right now. We were here for a couple of reasons. Do you want to talk a little bit about why we're here?
Yes, I came for SunCup, which is a convening for social impact investors, social enterprises, and funders in the social enterprise sector. And we came to network and catch up with partners and also find new partners for the work that we're doing. But I'm also here for the Miller Center Summit that is happening this week, which I'm very excited about.
Yes.
And I've had a chance to interact with some of the alumni from all over the world that have come to be part of the summit.
Yeah,
so
great.
Looking forward to the next 4 days with Miller Center.
Yes, me too. Yeah, this is the first time we're doing this summit here in Nairobi, and it just really felt like the right time to do something like this, because there's entrepreneurs like you that are just growing and growing, and it's cool to really cultivate that community of all of you together. So really looking forward to that. But before we get into the summit, we wanted to talk to you specifically and just get to know you and let our community know what you're up to and what your business is all about. So if you were to give just like a high level overview of what Mtindo is all about, let's say you're meeting me for the first time, what would you say about your business?
So I run Mtindo. We are a social enterprise that is focused on creating economic opportunities for women in northern Uganda. We run a tailoring academy that works with vulnerable women from the community. Most of them are mothers. A lot of them have dropped out of school so much earlier on and have gone for a long time without education, and we take them back and reintegrate them into education, concentrating on numeracy literacy for the first 2 months, and then doing a skills training for fashion entrepreneurship and design. And we also have a social enterprise for profit that also employs the women that graduate through the programs.
Yeah, so what I really like about Mtindo is you've got kind of two specific things. Like you have the academy, and then you also have like I guess it's like a training or, well, when I was looking at your website, it was like kind of two specific offerings that you give. And that wasn't always the case when you first started Mtindo, right?
No, this wasn't the case. I started to build out this model as I went through the first program with Miller Center, the Jumpstart program in 2020.
Yes.
And that focused on how can we build a model that would be impactful, would get the biggest impact for the region we were working with. Yeah. We are working in northern Uganda. And we were able to work on the business model. We were able to work on what our theory of change was going to look like, and how to put together a social enterprise that was sustainable and scalable in the long run. So I think the program has evolved a lot. And I think we've gotten a model that we can work with that is scalable, that is achieving really great outcomes for the participants that we've worked with. And I think we couldn't have done that without Miller Center.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's I was actually like looking up your history with Miller Center the other night in our like Salesforce database, and you've done actually like a lot of programs. Like you said, you first started with the 2020 Jumpstart, which for those of you at home don't know what that is. We don't really do it anymore, but it was like a mini version of our accelerator for entrepreneurs that just needed like a little extra jump start before they actually went into our program. And so I think you were like in the second cohort of that existing program at that time. But then after that, I just feel like we've just only kept the engagement going with you and Morgan as well, who is your co-founder. Yeah, well, I do want to ask more questions about Miller Center, but before we do that, I think it's actually really important to address like what it is you're actually doing with Mtindo because I think there's such a deep level of impact. So there's a couple questions I want to kind of get into, but so this Mtindo is based in Uganda.
Yes.
It's in Gulu, right, which is
Yeah.
like northern Uganda.
Yes.
So the first question is like, why Gulu as opposed to having it in Kampala, which is like the kind of the biggest city in Uganda, right? So why did you choose this particular part of Uganda to launch your business?
Okay. Well, so I'm originally from central Uganda, Kampala, and I traveled to Gulu to do my university education. I already knew how to tailor because I have such a big passion for tailoring.
Yeah.
And while I was in Gulu, the biggest problem that I found was a lot of youth that had gone through programs had graduated out of them, but they weren't really having a lot of incomes to support themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of people had gone through programs, but when you ask them, what are you using the skills for? No one was actually doing much with the skills. And basing on that, and after interacting with a lot of women that came up to me and said, can I join your workshop? Can I, learn from you? I made the decision to start an academy that focused on working on the underlying issues that included the life skills, so a little bit of the teamwork, the confidence, the communication, the self-efficacy, and a little bit of strategic planning for life because people kind of just never knew where they wanted to go after the training happened. So we created a program that really focused on how can we get the best results from women that have dropped out of school at a very early stage. A lot of the women we are working with have dropped out of school before finishing primary 7 because education in Uganda is very expensive and a lot of people drop out because they cannot just continue.
Yeah.
And a lot of them also drop out because they get pregnant really young.
Right. Yeah.
But also sometimes it's just help needed at home that the family says, oh, you can't continue, you have to stay home and give more help.
Right. Right.
So our program focused on reintegrating those types of women back into education and combining a life skills program alongside that that really brought in the participant to come out with a little bit more holistic training. And we've had really good results with the participants that have gone through Mtindo. We've seen a lot of them. Some of them have stayed with us, but some of them have graduated out of Mtindo and gone on to start businesses. And they are very, very successful. They've set up successful businesses. They're earning a living wage. They're meeting their needs. They are taking their children to school. They are saving for their families. And it's a model that we've found to work, and we are looking to how can we grow it. And I think I'll be coming back to Miller Center to see how can we scale, how can we get to those other bigger numbers and reach more people in northern Uganda.
Exactly.
Because there is still such a large need for what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Well, just to talk a bit more about Gulu and like understanding the historical kind of context of that part of Uganda, because there was a civil war there. It was, pretty undeveloped. But I think when you went there, it was kind of re-emerging, it sounds like. And then having Mtindo set up there, I think it just contributed to like building up basically like a community and an economy.
Yes. So in 2014, when I was just new in Gulu, Gulu had just emerged out of the Civil War. There'd been a lot of uh, displacement for people. Like people didn't really go the regular life route.
Yeah.
A lot of them had lived in DPC camps, and even today, when we interact with some of our girls, and you ask them, like, how come you missed out on this part? Like, how come your education didn't, go through? And they say, oh, at that time we were staying in camps, we were always on the move, we were always a little bit unsettled with the conflicts, the rebels, and this type of thing. So at the time when I started coming to Gulu, starting my tailoring workshop and starting to engage with the community, there was really just no economy. And I've witnessed the last 10 years that evolve, and being part of it and contributing to that and being part of that development and has been really, really something I've come to appreciate, because now you see that the economy is thriving more. We have things taking off, businesses taking off. And I'm glad that Mtindo is contributing to that.
Yeah. I think that's really cool that you're now seeing graduates of the program go on to start their own businesses and probably even hiring other women and training up, like paying it forward, so to speak. So like that's just really like building out the community and making it so strong. Like that's, I mean, was that the intention? Like, I mean, I know that's a hard question to answer, but did you envision that when you were first thinking about launching a tailoring training business?
Well, I was thinking I wanted to give my skills to more people that needed them, that could benefit from them, people that had no prospects for career, people that did not really have opportunities in the past. I did not fully understand how that was going to happen, so I'm very grateful for Miller Center, because they brought those thoughts and put them in. They arranged them. They helped me understand how to arrange them and how to make them into a dream that can actually move forward. So yeah. So I guess to answer your question is, I kind of had a vision to help the community, but to pull it all together, I needed help, and I'm grateful that I found Miller Center when I did, because I didn't know how I could have gone about that. I had no clue. How do you start something like that?
I mean, that's really good to hear, because that's exactly what we're trying to do with Miller Center. So you went through our Jumpstart program, but then you came back to us, I think it was in 2022, was it for the Women's Economic Empowerment cohort? I think you were part of that.
Yes.
According to our Salesforce records, you were.
Yes.
But then we've also engaged with you as we've done these other workshops. Miller Center's also invested in Mtindo. You were one of our earliest investments, actually, just because we really believed in the work that you and Mtindo are accomplishing. So I guess, I don't know if there's a question there, but really, like, you are exactly the epitome of the kind of entrepreneur that we want to support, because we do see how this can have a tremendous long-term sustainable impact on, not just Uganda, but Pan-Africa and the world. Like, these are the kind of models that we want to support. But I guess if I could jump back a little bit, I want to talk about you and your journey, because you're not from Gulu originally, right? You're from, was it Kampala?
Yeah, I'm from Kampala.
Yeah. So what brought you to Gulu originally?
I came to do university. I studied quantitative economics at Gulu University. It was a 3-year university degree. I started tailoring when I was studying at university. I started by tailoring in the hostel. So the moment I brought my machine, I asked my father for about 500,000 Ugandan shillings, about $150. And said, I wanna have a sewing machine in my hostel so I can do some work in addition to the studies. And the day that I brought the sewing machine, I had 3 orders.
Really?
And the following day, I had another 3 orders. So there was demand. There was people that were looking for things that were locally made in Gulu for the population. And what was also very interesting was, before I got my sewing machine, when I asked someone, can I rent a sewing machine? They told me, yes, you can rent a sewing machine. The Chalani, the one that is manual,
Yeah.
those were the ones that were very popular at the time. And she said, yes, you can rent. Everyone in Gulu has gotten a sewing machine from somewhere because there have been so many projects in Gulu.
Right.
And I asked, how much do I rent a sewing machine? And
Yeah.
they said, 10,000. At the time, the value of renting a sewing machine was 10,000. And I did not make sense of this. If you had this productive asset that could make you more than 10,000, in my mind, you could make 10,000 in 1 hour, from my experience. Then why would you give it away to someone for 10,000? And for me, this is a problem because it meant that people did not see value. People had gone to programs, people had done the short-term courses, but no one understood that there is a way to make a living off of this. This is a productive asset. You can make a living, you can make incomes, you can solve some of your family problems with it, and yet this wasn't happening. So a lot of our programming has really focused on ensuring that there is that transition that happens, that if you're going through our academy, that you are actually going to find employment. And if you are applying to join our academy, we want to understand, are you actually trying to find employment in the sector? We are very, very strict about that. You're not just having a hobby, you're not just passing time. We want to make sure that at the end of the day, you're going to get that out of it, that we are contributing to the increase in the incomes in the location that we are working. And I think we've iterated a little bit, we've worked a little bit on the curriculum, on the model and how it is operating, but we are having really great success. We are seeing a lot of the graduates are actually transitioning. A lot of them are finding employment, even if it's not with us. They are setting up successful businesses. They are making a living out of the skills that we're giving them.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things as you're speaking that I was thinking about. So I guess for you, like specifically, you studied economics in university, was that right?
Yes.
And then, but then tailoring was just kind of like something you personally enjoy doing, like fashion, like that just seemed like that was a personal hobby of yours.
Yes.
And so I just think it's really cool, actually, like this something that you were so passionate about became the thing that is the business model. And yeah, did you, like, what's your background? Do you come from a family of tailors, or like where did that passion come from?
Let's see. So that can go back a little bit. I can go back a little bit, but that's a very long
You can go
story.
as far back as you want.
But one of my memories when I was home, when I was growing up, was having a friend of my mom's bring her daughter because she had gotten pregnant with a boy in the village.
Oh.
And they say, oh, you cannot give birth from the family land. Now you have to start your life. And we had those boys' quarters, the rooms in the back of the home that she took up with the husband, with the now baby daddy.
Baby daddy, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she had to drop out of school. She had to, now prepare for the baby. And she had to think about, how do I, feed this baby? How do I make a living? How do I, buy the household things? And the boy was also not doing so well. So she comes and lives with us for a bit, and they enroll her in a tailoring school.
Okay.
And this is very exciting. I've always been very curious about garments.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited to understand, what does someone do when they go to learn how to make clothes? So one day she comes home, she's almost at the end of the program, and she comes and says, yeah, I'm almost graduating. I've been doing tailoring. And I'm like, can you show me what you've done? And she brings these papers, and she's like, this is it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, where are the clothes? Where is what are you going to do with these papers? Like, what is next? Do you now become, like a tailor? Do you make money with the tailoring? Like, she had a purpose where she went to do this course.
Yeah.
But I don't think this was met. So, yeah, so a lot of my curiosity is coming from that, but a lot of it is also coming from my mother also had a sewing machine, And for a really long time, it served as a table in the house.
Oh,
It was
interesting.
a very nice antique. It was one of those small, first models of the Singer sewing machines. But for a really long time, we had it in our room, and it was just an antique. Every once in a while, she brought it out, maybe made for a night dress, but then she pulled it back, and I was always wondering, how does this work? Like how do you, make this into something?
Yeah, yeah.
So the day that I learned how to make clothes, the lady that did our laundry came and showed me how the machine works, how do you thread the needle, how do you get it moving, and all these things. The day that I found out was a really joyful day for me because I made over 5 pieces in one day.
Really?
I cut up this, I cut up the old curtains, I cut up the old bed sheets, I cut up my mom's old dresses and remade them into something that fit me.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've had a passion about for a really long time. I've seen a sewing machine growing up, and I've seen people use it and try to make a living out of it or have it serve other purposes. But I would want to think that it's a productive asset, and for people that are in those types of situations, people that have not had education, people that are caught up in a very, like a very hard place, with the girl getting pregnant, that they can start somewhere because it's something you do with your hands. It's something that you can master and be very good at it. But it's something that can also, open up a whole different learning journey for you.
Totally. Yeah.
No matter where you're coming from or what your background is, you can start from there and just keep moving forward.
So what's the common profile of the students that go to Mtindo? Are they mostly young girls, or do you also have men, or what would you say is the
Yeah, so
typical student?
we admit people between the ages of 16 and 35. I would say about 50% are already mothers at that time.
Okay.
By the time they're joining Mtindo. A lot of them have dropped out of school for some reasons. And a lot of them are coming from the villages, and they've not really had opportunities there. And the way that we've set up our space is to make that transition from work to employment as easy as possible, that you understand what does it mean now to come into the formal economy, how does that work, how do you work with colleagues, how do you work as a team, how do you interact with the customer. So all of this is when if you do ever come to Gulu, I hope you can come
I would
and
like
see
to,
it.
yes.
But it's a very dynamic space that has learning in a different way.
Yeah.
That you observe and you see what does it actually mean to work in a formal setting. A little bit still more, a little bit of informal spaces as well. But how do you learn and adapt to the space and just get in there and
Yeah, I just think it's just so smart, your business model, because it's the technical skills of tailoring, but then it's like, how do you use that skill in a tangible way to earn an income? And as you said, it's like you need all these other life skills to really set yourself up on a path of success. So it's like you said, how to just engage with a customer and like how to have that kind of human resources, basic like skill.
Yes.
And I just think that is just really cool that you've kind of emerged into having this kind of a model. How did you, I guess, did you collaborate with other folks in designing that, I guess, curriculum?
So I had my co-founder, who I worked with since 2019, starting the program, and she was with me throughout the 2 cohorts of Miller Center. She gave a lot of support in starting up and understanding, like, what are we trying to do? It was a very exciting time for both of us because she was coming from working in the social enterprise space, and I had not had that experience. So she gave me a lot of support to put together this model and work with me and Miller Center and come up with a model that gave us the right outcomes that we were hoping for. I did a lot of work with my now husband, David Monk.
Oh,
He was doing a lot of research around vocational education and training. And he kept on sending me these articles of what was the feedback from the communities, like what were people seeing about vocational education.
Yeah.
He did a research paper, VET 4.0, it was a really big research that really followed different institutions in the vocational education space, the graduates, the impact, and what were the long-term effects of that. So I had a lot of conversations with him in the beginning, and I think he did contribute a lot also towards developing the curriculum for Mtindo.
Oh, that's great. I don't think I've met him yet. Have I met him?
No.
No, I don't think I have. But Morgan, like I've met Morgan, really, really lovely. And I really just love the dynamic the two of you had, just watching the two of you go through our program. And I've listened to like a previous podcast the two of you did together. And it just seemed like the two of you really complemented each other because you had the same vision but you were coming from these different perspectives, and it just seemed like when the two of you got together, it's like the magic happened, like truly. And so how did the two of you meet? What's that origin story?
Well,
She's not from Uganda, she's American, right?
yes,
Yeah,
she's American.
Yeah.
So Morgan was working with another social enterprise, PsychoConnect. I think you know this one.
Yes.
I think they're also an alumni.
Yes.
She was working with PsychoConnect, and one day she walked in and said, "Can you make me a dress?" And I started talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, I want to work in something to do with sustainable fashion. I'm very curious about how the fashion industry can be more empowering and more circular and sustainable." So yeah, we had very good conversations around that. And when I started to fundraise for the academy, I did a crowdfunding campaign to launch the academy for the beginning costs. She came in and supported that, and I asked her to be my co-founder. And
Yeah.
we
that's
started.
cool.
We started. Yeah.
I think you guys have you've set a good example of what like a true partnership could look like. I really do believe that. But she's no longer like she's a board. I think she's a board chair of Mtindo now, or what's because she stepped down officially, right?
Yeah,
Or-
she has moved back to the US to continue. She originally moved back to continue with her education in sustainable fashion, and transitioned on as a board chair. She's continued to be part of Mtindo and gives really great advice, and is always coming in and understanding, like
It's good.
what's going on at Mtindo, always checking in. She's a really powerful anchor for us as well.
Yeah, she's got such a strong background in ethical fashion. I think she was like really into ethical fashion before ethical fashion became like the thing that it is now. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
she really just had that vision right from the start, and that's just cool that she's kind of followed that in her studies. Like I think she just got a degree in it was like sustainable fashion, right?
Yeah, sustainable fashion.
So yeah, shout out to you, Morgan, if you're watching this. But anyways, I think as a leader though, like because you started as co CEOs, or what was that?
Yeah, co-founders.
Okay, but now you're the sole CEO of Mtindo.
Yes.
So how has that transition been from going from two to being like you running the whole ship and shaboodle?
Yeah, that was So Morgan transitioned out at the end of 2021. Yes, and joined our board and continued on for another 6 months as we went through the program with Miller Center, putting together a business plan for what our next level of growth was going to look like. So she was a very good instrument for that because we did work on a very good business plan that made us investment ready, made us have a very good growth strategy, impact strategy, and yeah, we put together a very good business plan together, and that was also part of our transition to set us up for really great success.
So was that always the plan that she would kind of help get Mtindo set up and then kind of transition out? Was that always the plan to have you kind of be the sole?
Well, she always intended to move back to the States.
Okay,
But
got
she
it.
also intended to see Mtindo successful. So she always said, like at some point I have to move back. I want to continue to support Mtindo, but I do have to move back home, and that's where I wanna start life. So, so the intention was not always to stay in Uganda, but to always be part of Mtindo.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So speaking of Miller Center, like you said a lot of things that you got out of it, but what was kind of like the main Like if you were to sum up one main thing that you got out of any of your Miller Center experiences, what was that? Or what would you say it would be?
One.
Or you can say a few, whatever you like.
Maybe a few, yeah. So I really like the mentorship. My mentors, I've had so far 3 mentors.
Yeah.
The one in Jumpstart and then 2 for the investment readiness. Those were really, really great mentors, and they've continued to guide me as I'm continuing to grow Mtindo and understand, what is the next thing for Mtindo. They've continued to give really great support, really great advice. I think this was something that was really, really great for me because they shared their knowledge, their wisdom, and their experiences in a very open way, and they really got me to think more responsibly and think a little bit bigger than I would have thought. So that was really great. I appreciated my leadership coaches. I worked with Susan Paul
Aw,
in
I
the
love
first
Susan. Yeah.
yeah, for 1.5 years.
She's great.
And
Yeah.
she was amazing because she really guided my leadership journey and had very many conversations with me. To this day, every time I have a problem, a challenge with my leadership, I go back through the emails because she always sent a follow-up email of, this is what we talked about. This
Aw,
is what you're going to do. And
that's
yeah, I always go back
amazing.
and reflect on that
Yeah.
again, just to remind myself, like, how do I go around this?
Right, right.
So the coaches were really great. The curriculum too, going through the curriculum, it's a good curriculum. It's the type of knowledge I have not had access to growing up, at least not in my educational journey. So this was a very strong curriculum that that I've worked with, and I continue to go back into the system and look for the resources. And I already see they've added some new things. I think recently I went in and I was like, oh, financial model, the one that I was using was not working. But I went in and there is a new financial model, and I know I participated at some point when they had the last one. They told me, "Oh, can you give us feedback on how this is working out for you?"
Yes.
So going back in and saying that, "Oh, wow, they took that feedback, and now there is something that I can use that has
Yes.
the local currency added, some new modules, and all these things." So those resources being available to me so many years following my graduation from Miller Center, I really appreciate all these things.
Oh, that makes me really happy to hear that just because, yeah, the feedback is actually really important to us. That's why we're constantly surveying like everyone in our network because we want to stay current and stay relevant to all of you because we don't want to offer resources that don't make any sense. And so, yeah, and I think like moving forward, like if there's something that comes up that you're seeing any trends or whatever's going on in the ecosystem, like we want to know so that we can provide the right channels of resources to all of you. So, and the financial model is like always the biggest one. Like it's always the biggest one for everybody. And our models have evolved too. Like ever since like Jumpstart too, it's completely changed because we're trying to adapt to everyone's financial needs.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah, so I think if I could like pivot a little bit, well, first of all, Susan Paul, I do really love her a lot. I saw her in Italy when I was there like 2 summers ago because she lives,
Yes.
I think she lives in Florence with her husband. But we met for like drinks, and she's just like a ray of sunshine. She's such a lovely woman. So I want to pivot a little bit. When you first started at Miller Center, you weren't called Mtindo. I remember you were called something else. I think it was Moto. Is
Yeah,
that
I was
right?
God model.
Yeah. So why the name change?
Um, well, that came down to registration.
Okay.
The Ugandan bureau said,
Got it.
yeah, you're making a new company, you cannot go with a business name, choose some other name, start afresh.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. So what does Mtindo mean? Is that a Swahili
Well, Swahili,
word?
but also Bantu. Bantu. Yeah, it's Bantu, the bigger group that encompasses
Yeah.
a lot of African nations. Yeah.
So what does Mtindo mean in Bantu?
It means a certain level of standard, setting a new trend that is of a higher standard. Something to this effect. Yeah. Yeah, like when I was doing my lessons, my mom was always like, "Oh, you have to be on Mtindo. You have to be on Mtindo." Kind of similar to what you've just said, like you're staying on top of
Oh,
what is
yeah.
what is new, what is more relevant in
Right.
today's in today's landscape.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
so that is
I
that
like
is
that.
the word.
It's very poetic. I like that a
Yeah.
lot, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have a few more questions, and then I'll let you be on your way. But I think so. These are some of the standard questions I like to ask everybody. But so at Miller Center, we use the word social entrepreneurship, but now we're seeing that it's not quite as popular to use the word social. So we're seeing people use terms like, change maker or impact entrepreneur or even just entrepreneur. So how do you refer to yourself?
Well, I've been referring to myself as a social entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is great, but sometimes it's just amazing to do work with intention, to have a mission of, what are you trying to change in the world? What would you want the world to look like in the future? And I think beyond entrepreneurship, I do like being a social entrepreneur. I like knowing that I'm moving my community forward, that I'm contributing to a better tomorrow for the community, for the people that I'm working with, that I'm part of them moving their lives in a more sustainable way, in a beautiful way, if you could call it that, in a way that is empowering and moving them forward in their dreams, in their goals, and to the better way of living.
Absolutely. So, like contributing to something bigger than yourself. That's like
Yes.
this bigger collective movement.
Yes.
All right. So, what's one thing you can do now as a leader that you couldn't do when you first launched Mtindo, then called Moto?
Well, when I can speak to you. Yeah, I think a lot of confidence in what I'm doing,
For sure.
communicating my plans,
Yeah.
and having a bit of direction.
Yes.
Of this is what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay the course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't do that before. Like I had ideas, but they were all jumbled up. It was all just a mess, and now it's just one long string of things, and I
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's good. What's one piece of advice you would give somebody that wants to get into entrepreneurship, maybe wants to start an academy like that you've done? What would you say to them if they want to do something like that?
I would say just start. Um, find resources like Miller Center or other resources or that can help you along the journey, but start.
Do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, yeah. Good advice. Are there any books or podcasts that you are reading or just highly recommend? And it could be related to, your sector or just something that you enjoy. That's another question I like to ask everybody.
What book am I reading? I've been reading Traction.
Traction,
I
what is
think
that?
it's a good book, but I've not gone very far with it. But it's also maybe because of where I am, like trying to
Yeah.
get that growth, trying to
Yeah.
get the team
Yes,
to
yes, yes.
align with the vision. Like what are we really doing? Like getting everyone to kind of understand. Like what is Mtindo and what is your part in Mtindo? So I like that book because it reminds me that I now have a team behind me, and I need to get that team to see what we're doing with Mtindo. What is our mission? What is our vision? Can they now get the team to rally behind that?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
that's
I like that book. I like that book.
Traction, you said?
Yeah, Traction.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I forget the author, but yeah, Traction.
We'll put it in the show notes later for everybody. A few more questions. So, speaking of vision, what's the bigger vision for Mtindo? What do you have coming up next?
Well, I think one thing I've said is I would like to impact over 10,000 women in the next 10 years. So I'm working on that now.
Yeah, that's a good goal.
I'm trying to see how can we go from working. Currently, we are working with 50 employees, and in the academy, we have about 40 participants that are going through the program.
Yeah.
So now that we've made those validation and have gotten everything started, how can we now go to the 10,000?
Yeah.
That's the plan I'm working on. I'm trying to see how to now aim for the bigger growth.
For sure. Yeah.
To scale.
Do you want to expand beyond Gulu or do you want to go deeper in Gulu?
I would want to go a little bit deeper in Gulu because there is just so much need. I think every day I see a lot more people that would really benefit from what we're doing with Mtindo. Yeah, I recently moved to the village.
Did you?
With my husband.
Nice.
And yeah, it's always interesting to see, like there are all these people that just want, they just want some bit of direction, some bit of, just to move their lives forward, to see their children grow up healthy and access medical care, afford slippers, because, like the shoes, because, yeah, like afford the basic necessities of life. And I would want to extend our programming to reach more and more those types of people. Yeah, and also just open up the place where we're working to more opportunities for employment, because really employment does drive our work. Creating more employment for the women, for the youth in our region is something we really care about.
Yeah.
Because it just it makes just everything better.
It does.
When people are employed, they really just live really well.
Yeah, it's true. Are you currently fundraising for anything specific right now?
Fundraising equity.
Okay.
Fundraising towards a much larger space that can accommodate bigger growth, because we are trying to expand the programs in our academy. We are also trying to expand our production. In terms of expanding beyond Gulu, we would like to expand our sales efforts beyond Gulu, mostly northern Uganda, and maybe also think about South Sudan. But in terms of our programming, our production, and operations, we are looking for a space that can accommodate much larger groups and much larger participants to participate and go through the vocational program.
Yeah. Well, that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing that expansion happening. And obviously, Miller Central will be on that journey with you. All right, well, we'll wrap it up here. But if folks want to reach out to you and learn more about Mtindo or support Mtindo, what are the channels to reach you?
Well, my email is susan@mtindo.org. So that's always a good option.
Okay. And then the website is
Mtindo.org.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. And then are you on all the other things?
I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram,
Okay.
and but LinkedIn more for the
LinkedIn?
work. Yes.
All right, very good. Well, I think we covered it. Is there anything that you wanted to share that we didn't cover in this conversation?
I think we've covered everything. And I'm always like, Milasina is a very good program. Like, I really, really appreciate the program and the work that you're doing. So I'm really appreciative of the entire Miller Center community. Thank you so much for the work you've done with entrepreneurs like myself and all those that are yet to come. Yes. Thank you.
Well, we love you very much, and we're so glad you're a part of this network, and more to come. All right, I think we've done it. All right, thanks everybody.
Oh, thank you.